Tennessee This Week from WATE 6 on your side starts now.
Hello and welcome to Tennessee This Week. I'm Bo Williams. A few weeks back, Knox County's District Attorney General described last year with words lots of us could relate to. Quote, challenging in many ways. That came with a year in review report for 2021. Last Monday, WATE 6 on your side reporter Elizabeth Kubel sat down with Sharm Allen to learn about the response to that tough year.
You recently published your 2021 year in review. In your opinion, what are the big takeaways from that?
Big takeaways are that it was a very busy year for us. Even though, if you remember back to the beginning of 2021, we were still just coming out of COVID. So our courts really did not get running up to full speed. We didn't get to start trying jury trials until mid-April. But even though it was a year where we were just coming out of COVID and starting to try cases and come back into the office and really get rolling, we still did an enormous amount of work, accomplished an enormous amount of things throughout the year.
You talked too, when you sent out the memo, about a dramatic increase in drug overdose deaths as well as homicides. How dramatic are we talking with those numbers?
Well, in 2021, we had 54 homicides. The year before that, we had 45. So that was a significant increase in homicides countywide. And with our overdose deaths, we hit an all-time high. We had 498 suspected overdose deaths, so almost 500. And prior to the pandemic, we had been down in the 350 range. And so through the pandemic and then still into 2021, just a significant increase in overdose deaths, unfortunately.
What is it like for you to see those numbers being so high?
It's sad. It is really sad. Homicides, overdose deaths, they're all the loss of life. Every single person who loses their life has family members, loved ones that are still here that cared for and loved those individuals and now have a hole in their hearts and in their lives. And so it is not lost on us that we are really dealing with the loss of human life here.
We have talked about the pandemic too. It is such a big topic in this conversation in general. But do you think that the pandemic played a factor in those high numbers of drug overdose deaths and homicide numbers as well?
I do. And I don't think that those numbers were just specific here to Knox County. I think nationwide, you will see the homicide numbers as well as overdose numbers went up during the pandemic. And I think that probably that's partly attributable to the isolation and the stress, the pressure that people were under during that time.
And then we talked about the pandemic too in terms of shutting down court for several months, and it did. What is the progress that we are making on trying those backlog of cases? Have we made progress there?
Yes, and because we were able to start trying cases in mid-April last year, we actually tried 58 cases last year once we opened the courts back up. And of those cases, over half of those, or just about half of those, were tried by my career gang unit and my major crimes unit. So those were serious cases that we were able to try throughout the year. I think that we tried 15 homicides and 5 attempted homicides. So once they opened the courts, we were ready to go. We had worked throughout the pandemic. Even though the courts were closed, this office was still open every day. We were working every day, and we had those cases ready to go, ready to try. And so because we were ready, I think that we have been able to begin to dig out of the backlog that we are still in to some extent because of the pandemic.
We are halfway, almost halfway now through 2022. When we take a look back at 2021, obviously we do not want a repeat of that year, especially in terms of the overdose deaths and the homicide deaths too. But where do we stand right now, inching closer to that 6-month mark of 2022?
We are, I think, just slightly ahead on our overdose deaths, very close. And our homicides, thankfully, we are down. So hopefully this will be a year where we see a decrease in homicides across the board. And keep in mind too that any numbers we give are always suspected overdose deaths, and we have to, at the end of the year, when we get all the toxes in, make sure those numbers are right. That's why our numbers don't ever exactly match the medical examiner's numbers, because we are always looking at suspected overdose death numbers, and we put them in that category based on what we find at the crime scene prior to toxins coming back. And sometimes we're right, and sometimes we're wrong.
What do we do now? What are you and your office doing now to make sure that we don't have a repeat of those 2021 numbers that we don't like to see?
Well, this office takes homicides as well as overdose deaths very seriously. And so we have things that we do in the office as well as collaborative efforts that we do with organizations outside of this office. And for the overdoses, we have an overdose death task force. We have an overdose fatality review team. That is new, that we started last year. And we partner with preventative agencies. We're very active with the Metro Drug Coalition. We are active in the All for Knox initiative. So we work really hard on the back end to prosecute cases where there are drugs involved, cases where there are drug deals, drug dealers. Anytime there are drugs involved, then we treat those cases in a manner to where we try to get the maximum punishment allowable by law. But on the flip side of that, we're also working with those organizations that I mentioned to try to prevent those that are trying to make that decision whether to enter into a life of drug use or not. So we also try to steer people out of the criminal justice system and work on prevention methods. We have a recovery court here. So we have, at any given time, close to 100 participants in the recovery court, where we are trying to take individuals and help give them the tools to turn their lives around and get them out of the criminal justice system and help them be productive members of society. So we have a recovery court. We also have a veterans treatment court that does the same thing for our veterans. And a lot of times, we find that the people that are suffering from drug addiction also are suffering from mental health issues. So those two things go hand in hand quite often. And so right now, in 2022, we are working on establishing a new mental health court this year. So hopefully by having more mental health courts, recovery courts, more alternatives like that, we will be able to help people steer away from the drugs and hopefully the overdose deaths.
What does that new mental health court look like?
Right now, we are in the creation phase. We are now interviewing people who are from other jurisdictions who have mental health courts. We're trying to decide what components we want to bring in from other areas to put ours together uniquely, but we're really at the beginning stages. I actually have an interview this afternoon with someone about the mental health court.
Do you have any idea, time frame wise, when it could be up and running, or it is still very premature?
We are hoping to have it up and running soon, but we want to do it correctly. We'd like to get it running as soon as possible, but it's more important to make sure that we do it correctly, that we have all the components, and that it really is successful. And so however long that takes to get it running is how long we'll take.
I know that 1 year later now, we look a lot different in terms of the pandemic. Mandates, for the most part, have lifted. Case numbers have dramatically declined since this time a year ago. So are you hoping, too, that that makes an impact on those, especially the drug overdose numbers, and hopefully we don't see as high of a number as we did last year?
Sure. Every year, we're hoping that the overdose death numbers are lower than the year before. Every year. And so we work really hard to try to make sure we're doing everything that we can, both on the prosecution side and the prevention side, as an office, to try to ensure that those numbers go down.
Just wrapping up here, as we talk about the year in review, just any key takeaways that you hope people hear as we have this conversation?
Really just what a comprehensive job that this office does. If you take time to actually look through the year in review, you will see that we have over 12 special units that do vertical prosecutions in this office. You will find the numbers on our child abuse, our elder abuse, our domestic violence. You'll see all that. You'll also see that we served over 4,500 crime victims last year. The victim witness services in this office work around the clock, serving victims of very heinous crimes, all the way down to people who have had a lawnmower stolen out of their garage. Our white collar unit recouped an enormous amount of restitution in white collar cases. It's just an office that does so much. And so if you take time to sit and look, we have the homicides and we have the overdose deaths, but we also have children who are abused, we have elders who are abused, we have drunk drivers. We deal with so much in this office, and we prosecute all of those crimes. And we also spend a lot of time in those preventative, collaborative efforts in each one of those categories as well. So I think it's just a way to show the community everything that we do, because there is so much involved in what we do. Just a really good overview of all the amazing work that is done in this office by my staff throughout the year.
Still to come, we talk about Allen's response and a couple of court cases affecting high-profile policies around the state. You're watching Tennessee This Week on WATE, 6 on your side. And welcome back to Tennessee This Week. I want to welcome our panel right now, industrial consultant Michael Covington. Glad to have you with us this week, sir. Also political contributor Courtney Piper and healthcare analyst Craig Griffith. Again, thanks to all of you for taking time to be with us. All right, you've had a chance to maybe look back. Sharm Allen, the DA, we had a chance to chat with her last Monday. First of all, I just want to get your overall thoughts as you look back at that 2021 report. Courtney, I'm going to start with you. What were some of the things that kind of jumped out at you when you watched the interview?
How much we are putting our district attorney and law enforcement in this mode of providing medical intervention. It just seems like increasingly she alluded to overdose deaths and creating different kinds of courts for people who are not hardened criminals, but who clearly are in a moment of crisis. And it was very apparent to me, and I don't know if shocking is the right word, but it was very eye-opening to see that we are increasingly putting law enforcement and people who are in that value chain into this position of being sort of a medical interventionist. And I think that, her office is doing all the right things to try and get involved in ways to help prevent these sorts of things from happening, creating different types of ways to try these cases, like I said, for people who are clearly in a moment of crisis. But, we cannot keep pushing off these problems of addiction and mental health onto law enforcement system. We've got to start taking a closer and more serious look at where some of these problems start, whether it's the homicide rates and gun violence or mental health and addiction. We can't just push everything onto the criminal justice system.
Yeah, because I saw she mentioned about the mental health court. That's kind of what's in the works right now for 2022. Michael, you go along with this as far as what some of Courtney's comments, or do you have a different, you see this differently?
Actually, I see it a lot like Courtney does. This is a tremendous burden on law enforcement and our court system. Where we may differ is, I don't know that at this point in real time that we have other options. I'm glad that her office and law enforcement at the sheriff's level and the city level are willing to do what needs to be done in the moment to deal with some of these crises. But we've had that discussion several times before. It's really out of control. So I'm glad that she's devoting a good bit of time and energy to it. And as Courtney was saying, we need to find alternatives to that. I was quite pleased with the whole truth in sentencing passage and her support for that. I am really impressed with how Sharm Allen reaches out to victims and victims' families. She really takes that personally, and I like that about her. So this truth in sentencing is a good thing as well.
Yeah, I know she alluded to that right there toward the end of the interview about the truth in sentencing. Elizabeth had asked her about that. She says she wants to be able to let the victims' families know exactly what's facing the suspect in some of those cases. Craig, I want to get your thoughts too. You go along with Michael and Courtney on kind of their concerns and what they're taking away from what the DA had to say.
Well, first of all, the report itself is shocking. That number of deaths by homicide, that number of deaths by drug overdose, it's really a sad commentary on what's going on in the community. On the bright side, though, I do think that she is trying to work in a collaborative effort with the police department, the sheriff's department, the city government, and the county government to try to address the issues. I think they all understand that in their own little silo, they will not be able to do as much if they work together. And it's certainly what I'm hearing from the new city police chief is that he wants to do a statistical approach to law enforcement. And I hope that the DA's office is doing some rigorous analysis of the deaths that they're seeing. For example, if it's a death with a gun involved, where did the gun come from? Who sold it? Who bought it? Do some rigorous analysis of what's going on so we can get a better handle on where the problem is and develop some evidence-based procedures to try to address the issues.
I tell you, we're going to change things up here for a second. Michael, I want to start with you. I want to talk about school vouchers. Obviously, it's been a huge topic. Governor Lee's proposals, the program has now been upheld. So kind of, let me just get your take on where things stand right now. Do you like where this is going? Do you have concerns with this proposal, with this, I guess, well, really where we're going as far as, like I said, it's been upheld as far as the voucher program. So let me get your 2 cents.
Well, I think every family and every student within certainly the state of Tennessee should have the opportunity to pursue the best educational opportunity available. I'm for that. Mm-hmm. To the extent that taxpayer dollars are used for that exploration of educational opportunities, I would like to stick with that philosophy that Knox County provides a certain dollar amount for every student within the school system. That dollar amount, I think, should be available to families to specifically designate to a better school or a school that will benefit their child more than maybe a neighborhood school. So I'm in favor of opening up opportunities for parents and their children to be able to get the best educational opportunity possible. And the vouchers do make that a little bit easier. It needs some tweaking, but I think we're going in the right direction.
Courtney, right direction, tweaking needed. What do you think?
It's the complete wrong direction. Using public dollars on private education is flat out wrong because they don't have to play by the same rules as the public school system. Private schools do not have to play by the same rules. They don't have to take every single student that walks through their doors, and that's what happens in a public school system. So if your child has any kinds of special needs, that private school system can reject them from participating in the school. They don't have to make special accommodations or provide a student with special needs any kind of special accommodations. And to use those public dollars for a private school that does not have to play by the same rules is flat out wrong, and it is not a good and valuable use of taxpayer dollars.
All right. Craig, you get the last word on this one before we hit the break. Real quick, give me your 2 cents here.
Let's improve public education. Let's improve public education to where every child can get, no matter what their zip code is, can get the best education that they can. Mm-hmm. And I think that this partitioning off and getting a few people out of Nashville and Shelby County schools into private schools isn't the way to do that.
All right. And on that note, we're going to take a break. Before we do, though, I do want to remind everybody, last week's Tennessee This Week, if you were watching, you know we were cut short because of breaking news. If you would like to watch the entire program in its entirety, you can watch it on our website at WAT.com. We'll talk more with our pundits coming up for Tennessee This Week. And welcome back to Tennessee This Week. Again, we're joined by our pundits. We're going to change our focus once again. This time, we're going to talk about a controversial bill that was signed into law by Tennessee Governor Bill Lee last year. Has now been struck down by a federal judge. We're talking about the issue of transgender and bathrooms in the state of Tennessee. There was lawsuits filed here, but again, a federal judge striking down, or at least blocking it for the time being. Craig, I want to start with you. Where does this go from here? You've kind of seen how this has played out. What do you think when you see this latest now from the federal judge and what was issued last week?
Well, I think it goes to the next higher court.
Mm-hmm.
I don't envision that the state legislature is going to back off on this particular fight. even though I find it kind of ironic that we tend to be a pro-business state, want to let businesses do their thing, but yet here we're trying to instruct a business how to decorate their bathrooms. So I'm not exactly sure that this is the way we want to go, but I'm sure it'll go to the next higher court, and we'll see what that decision is. And it'll just depend on how long whoever pros and cons wins the court case wants to continue the fight.
Yeah. Michael, you kind of go along with that as well. Obviously, it's going to keep going to another court. I mean, is that we think the direction this is going, and also just your thoughts overall on where everything stands?
Well, let me start by saying I'm deeply saddened by the fact that we're wrestling over this issue. Signage is just not really that important to me at this point. My concern is that, and this is my understanding, a man can wake up one morning and decide he identifies as a woman, and during the course of that day, he enters women's bathrooms identifying as a woman. Well, if he regains his stature as a man when he's in that bathroom, now women are at risk. So I'm concerned about limited bathrooms. Maybe we need 3 bathrooms so that transgender individuals who are their own, as we're coming to understand, protected class, they should have an opportunity to go into a bathroom and feel safe. And others going into women's and men's bathrooms should be able to go into those bathrooms and not feel as though they may be surprised by someone who is in there because they identify as a sexual orientation different than they actually are. So the issue is complicated for me in that regard. I'm not so concerned about the signage. I think the signage may have been a bit over the top. I really do. But my bigger concern is my good friend Courtney. I don't want Courtney Piper to go into a restroom anywhere in the United States and have to be confronted by a male who woke up that morning and identified himself as a female. That to me is fundamentally flawed. I don't want that for Courtney. I don't want that for my wife or daughter. I don't want that for women, period. So we need a better solution to protect the people who are going into the facilities, whether they're transgender, male or female.
Courtney?
I don't have a problem with this. I think the original bill just perpetuates hatred and misunderstanding against transgender individuals. There is nothing wrong with a transgender person. There is no reason to have to post this signage. So I'm glad that the court struck down this law and that signage no longer has to be presented. Look, I have no problem with who uses a bathroom. Actually, at my office, I use the men's bathroom a lot because the women's bathroom has a lock on it and the men's bathroom doesn't. And for a long period of time, the people that we share a floor with, the men weren't in the office. They were working from home. So I went in and out of the women's bathroom and the men's bathroom, not because I identify as a man, but because it was more convenient for me. So I really don't have a problem with these bathroom bills. Their only purpose is to perpetuate hatred and a misunderstanding and intolerance for transgender individuals. And that's not doing anybody any favors.
Let me point out that the restaurant owner that brought the lawsuit had gender neutral. Anyone could use the bathroom, and he had 0 complaints about that policy for the last several years. So I think it's making a mountain out of a molehill. You know, again, I get back to the statistics, and that there's about 0.7% of the population that are transgender, and we're spending all this time and doing all these laws for that very small segment of the population.
Yeah, I think the business you were referring to, I think it's Fido. I think is how it's pronounced
Right.
in the Nashville area. So again, I guess listen to the 3 of you then. I mean, you obviously agree with where things are standing. Courtney, you kind of seem to be more of, do we really even need to have this discussion? I guess is kind of maybe, is that what I'm taking away from?
Right, because I think that these bills, they're intended to discriminate against transgender individuals. And we don't need that. It doesn't do anybody any favors. What we need is a greater understanding of the transgender community. And that will promote greater tolerance and less hatred.
Okay. And on that note,
and I'll point out that there are many more pressing issues in the state that the legislature could be dealing with, like the plight of rural hospitals that may close over the next year in Tennessee. you know, the state legislature gave $1.5 billion to private corporate interests last year in the session, the Ford company and the Titans. Maybe they could work in helping the rural hospitals.
All right. On that note, Michael, Courtney, Craig, thank you so very much for joining us this week. We appreciate everybody at home as well for watching, and we'll see you again on Tennessee This Week.
The views of guests on Tennessee This Week are their own and do not represent the views of WATE 6 on your side or Nexstar Broadcasting.